Hello everyone. Let's look at the 3 M's in total quality management. That's Muda, Mura and Muri. So these are the 3 M's that we're going to look at today. So what is this Muda, Mura and Muri? Muda refers to waste, Mura refers to the unevenness, and Muri refers to the concept of being overburdened. So this is called the 3M waste. Now, what are these 3M? They are actually a set of concepts when it comes to lean management in manufacturing. Now, when we refer to these 3 types of waste, we are trying to talk about how we can help organizations identify where is the waste element and how do we eliminate this waste. Now, why should we even look at identifying waste and eliminating them? Simply because this improves the efficiency, it improves the productivity as well as the profitability. Let's look at Muda in detail. This Muda, Mura and Muri are actually words that originate from Japanese. So in Japanese, the word Muda means waste, wherein they are trying to refer to a particular activity which does not add any kind of value to the service or the product that's being produced. So when we look at Muda, the 7 types of waste here, when we look at that particular diagram that's depicted on your slide, you're talking about overproduction, inventory, defects, process, motion, transport, and the waiting. So we're talking about Muda as to how this can be a waste when a particular activity is being repeated, when it's redone, when the defects are identified, and there are unnecessary steps in a process which can make it only more challenging and cumbersome. So let's look at what are the various categories in Muda. Like I already mentioned, it's overproduction, waiting, transportation, processing, inventory, motion and defects. On that note, let's see how do you identify Muda. There are these 4 types which you can use to identify Muda. I would say 4 methods rather. Value stream mapping, the 5S, the Kanban and the Kaizen. So let's identify what are these specific steps. First and foremost, we need to understand in which logical flow is the activity arranged. So we would generally see in any manufacturing firm, right from the step of transforming the raw material to a finished product or service that is of any value to the customer. Second, you map the value stream. That means you go ahead and quickly identify which is the activity that is involved in the value stream. That means the time that's taken, what are the resources that need to be considered, and how are they consumed by each activity. Third, we look at identifying Muda. Here, we look at how it can involve looking for activities that do not add value to the product or to the service. After which, we look at eliminating Muda, which is nothing but waste, wherein if you see that how you've identified, you need to change the process, redesign that particular product, or you want to use different tools and equipment so that it enhances your work and does not allow you to waste. So first, you identify that set of activities. 2, you try to map the activity in a way to understand what are the resources and how is the time used. 3, you look for activities wherein it does not add any value to the product or service. Finally, you involve yourself in eliminating the waste. That's for Muda. Moving ahead, we're looking at Mura, which again is from the Japanese term that refers to unevenness. Look at that particular diagram on this slide where we see the man carrying the bucket on his back has 2 buckets of water where one bucket is heavily filled while the other bucket has very little water, causing an imbalance which is causing unevenness. So this is what it means by unevenness in Mura in the Japanese language. So this basically arises in a situation where there is any kind of variation between the demand or supply and workforce. Assuming there's too much of demand but the supply is less, or the supply is really high and there's less demand. So that means it's creating an imbalance. So when we look at such a scenario, it's creating a negative consequence wherein we have an excessive inventory which overburdens the resources and increases the lead times and compromises the quality. Let's have a look at examples for Mura. Now, when we say example, we're looking at uneven quality. Now, this can occur when there are variations in the way the products are produced. For example, let's take apparel industry where clothes are being manufactured. Assuming they're supposed to produce 50 t-shirts today. Maybe the first 10 t-shirts had bright color, bright red. The second 10, the slight variation in the red. The third 10 t-shirts was faded. The fourth didn't look like, red at all. And the fifth were badly colored, batches, So what happens here is there is unequal in the quality. Likewise, we look at uneven workload, wherein the work is not given consistently to people to be done on a continuous basis. Let's say, for example, it's not like having 8 hours of work during the course of day. Maybe the first 2 hours of the day you're busy, and the next 3 hours you're free, and then the next 1 hour you're slightly occupied, and the last hour you're heavily busy. Again, there is uneven distribution of workload. Then we look at unexpected delays. Now, this can occur where there are unexpected problems in the production process. Now, they could be events or consequences where you're actually not foreseeing the situation in the right way. So, there can be an unexpected event and there could be a delay. Let's say, for example, when you're in the production process, a machine breaks down. Obviously, production process takes time. Oh, there's an accident amongst the employees while the manufacturing takes place. So this causes delay in the manufacturing process. Now, these are unexpected delays. What are various strategies that are used to mitigate this Mura? One is smooth process. Make sure all your operations are balanced out in the right way so that you can counterattack these Mura effects. You also make sure that you're ready with techniques where you have level production, you adopt just-in-time system, and you flexibly allocate workforce. Next, we look at what are the various ways it can bring in benefits, right? Reduce the variation so that you can use the resources in a maximum manner, be responsive, and consistently there is quality. Muri, it means overburden in Japanese. What happens, Muri? Here, they are pushed beyond their limits and there is imbalance between their demand and their capacity to work. Now, because of this, people can get frustrated. They can increase this every chance that there's increase in errors. Accidents can happen. There can be employee burnout and the quality is compromised. Let's look at certain examples of Muri, like working long hours. It can lead to fatigue, decreased productivity, and increased errors. For example, you can ask a sales executive to work for long hours in the hot sun in the field. Now, that's going to make him tired, make him be inefficient in his task. When lifting heavy objects, right, when you don't have the proper equipment and tools to aid you in the process of shifting material, it can hurt your limbs, your back, your muscle strains, it can have spasm, can lead to serious injuries as well. Operating equipments that are not maintained on a continuous basis. Now, the machines can malfunction and this can cause an injury. Sometimes these injuries could be so fatal that they could be a permanent damage to the employee. For example, if a particular machine hasn't been operated for, let's say, a couple of months, and suddenly you expect the employee to work on that machine, it could be rusted, it has not been oiled properly, that could cause an imbalance, and probably the employee is not even aware or trained on how to use the machine, can cause some kind of fatal injury. Next, we look at what are the various approaches to address Muri. Ensure that the workload, there is a balance, it's equally distributed, and it's ergonomically designed so that it's evenly distributed as well. Now with this, it helps you to counterattack stress. Now stress, again, if you look at stress, there are two types. There's distress, which is negative. There's eustress, which is positive. Now when you're feeling that stress, in the positive way, it's okay. But if you're distressed, it can affect your efficiency. So when you reduce your stress, it can have a positive impact by enhancing your efficiency, which means you have a healthy work environment. And finally, this will lead to improved productivity and higher quality outputs from the processes that are being outlined. Thank you for listening.